This meeting is being recorded.
Hello and welcome to the Bigger Flips podcast. I have a very distinguished guest today, David Olds from Chattanooga, Tennessee. David is somebody that I first connected with from the Investor Lift community. He's very active in that community and one of the bigger contributors to that group. And then he became a member of Investor Fuel. So I saw him, I forgot which meeting, but I've been seeing him at every meeting since. And he's somebody who I found is really universally regarded as an expert in disposition of deals. And he's somebody who operates, I don't know, but on a national basis, but on a lot of different areas. He's got a very good team in Chattanooga, and it's an honor to have you, David.
Michael, thank you so much. Yeah, we first met in Phoenix. I think Phoenix was the first one that we sponsored. And then where were we last time? I forget
Dallas,
where the last
probably.
Yeah. And then we have one like in 2 weeks, we'll be in Nashville.
Yeah, you're coming? I'm going to be there.
Yeah, I'm going to be there with some of the team because that's only about 2 hours up the road for us. So it won't be too bad.
You can drive there from Chattanooga.
Thank goodness, dude. I spent so much time on airplanes. I'm leaving Tuesday to go to Phoenix. I'll come back on Saturday and drive to Nashville on Sunday. So there's a lot of flights.
I was about to book something. It's I forgot his name. Another mastermind, and then I realized it was the day after Investor Fuel. I have to fly back to New York and then immediately fly to Charleston, South Carolina. And I said,
Don Costa. Yeah,
Don Costa.
We're a sponsor for that one too. And I'm like, I just can't do it. There's no way I can can't get there from here in one day. It's too much.
I told him the same thing. I don't think I can get there. And he's doing another one in Vegas in November. I said, I'll try to get there.
Yeah, all the masterminds are really great, and it's really one thing that's helped catapult our business by getting in the room around other investors. But the problem is if they're quarterly, they all kind of run together. But for masterminds, one of the things that helped me was when I was just here in Chattanooga, and I was sort of like the big fish in a somewhat little pond. You don't always realize what's happening out there in the rest of the world. So I'm always a big fan of masterminds and getting around other people who are in the business and really, seeing the way that other people are doing business and getting ideas from them. And just, I get inspired. I've been in some of these rooms and I feel like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, there are these 12-year-old kids. They feel like they're 12, right? And they're doing $950,000 a month in wholesale fees. And I'm like, damn, what am I doing with my life? How am I 50? And these kids are just crushing it.
100%. I felt the same way.
I come back and I'm like, we gotta get our act together. We're just not doing enough, So that's how I always feel energized coming back from masterminds.
Yeah, I started going to Investor Field about 4.5 years ago. I remember there was a woman there. She's not a member anymore, but I think she started her own mastermind. But she had been in the business maybe 2 years, and in her second year in the business, she did like 100 deals in the Dallas area. And then she did something that I think no man could ever do, is that she left the business and hired a COO and just works in the business like 2 hours a week. Like no man could do that because we would always think that the business would fall apart, but she did it.
Oh my gosh, we're all such narcissists. It's crazy, right? Yeah, nothing can survive without me touching it, right?
Exactly. So, I'm a big fan of the masterminds too. Are you a member CG also?
I am not, just because I'm in boardroom, Fuel and Don Costa's mastermind, and then we sponsor so many events. I mean, I didn't count up my days out of the office, but I'm easily 150 days out of the office. Yeah, it's a lot.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah,
so why don't you talk about how, first of all, your operation, what sort of explain what your business does now, because I think it's interesting how much of the country you cover, and then how you sort of became this disposition expert. And if you stay to the end, by the way, Don's going to give away a free $4,000 course on disposition. So it's something that you might want to listen to.
Yeah. So I've been an investor since 2002, but really a full-time investor since 2009 when we moved to Chattanooga from Tennessee. And when I started out, it was me, my wife, and my brother. We were just here locally working. And we really were crushing this market. We were doing over 50 deals a year just here in Chattanooga. So life was good. We brought on a couple of partners and started expanding and growing. And finally we brought on a fourth person. And it got to the point where you start taking the deals that you're doing in Chattanooga and dividing them by 4, and you need to get more deals someplace, right? And there is an absorption or bandwidth that any market can handle, right? I can't, even in Chattanooga, even the best deals, I can't put out a deal a day. Because what happens is your buyers, they start getting conditioned to that. Oh, well, let me just wait till tomorrow's deal, and nobody will ever take action, right? So it has the reverse effect that you think it will. So typically 2 to 3 deals is the max you can drop in any one market, right? So we realized that we had to go out to other markets and to be able to do more deals, right? It's easier to do 2 deals in 10 markets than 20 deals a month in one, right? It's far simpler. Well, that makes a lot of sense until you decide you have to start picking markets. And that's where we really screwed it up as good as anybody can. We found a lot of ways to lose money. Thank God we always had a good base here in Chattanooga. But our first market that we went to was Birmingham, Alabama, because we thought, that's pretty close to us. Because we didn't know, dude, in 2016, we had no idea what we were doing. We were a bunch of bigger banana heads than we are now. So we're like, oh, we'll go to Birmingham. It's close. And we started we were marketing there. We were doing some deals, but the spreads were super low, and we were working on a JV model. So that was a struggle. So then we said, one of my partners said, well, let's go to St. Louis. There's a lot of stuff going on there. And so we started doing marketing. And what happened was we were marketing. I don't know if you've ever been to St. Louis. There's a lot of great places, but there's like this bad area that's like 20 square blocks of just desolate townhomes that were at one point the most beautiful thing ever. And we're locking these things up so quick. We're like, we're going to be freaking rich, man. Order the jet. We're going to be so rich. And of course, everybody who's local to St. Louis knows that they're trash and you can't give them away. So that was a complete disaster. So after that happened a couple of times, we realized, okay, we need to figure this out a little bit, right? We need to, do a little bit of planning and have a little foresight, right? So what we did different from a lot of our other friends and contemporaries and people that are wholesaling is we never went with like a nationwide PPC model, right? Because a lot of people will do that because when you spread out your PPC, which is pay-per-click advertising on Google, if you don't know, but when they spread them out, the cost per lead is very, very low, right? Because I'm not just marketing in Atlanta, right? I'm spreading out my ads across the country. So what happens is you get very cheap leads, but you get a ton of leads in areas where there are no buyers, right? You're in the middle of Nebraska where it's a cornfield, an outhouse, 2 goats and a cow with a bum leg, right? And no cash buyers. So, how did I get really good at dispositions? In my company, we had a division of sort of responsibilities, and my other 2 partners, one handled marketing, one handled acquisitions, and I handled everything else, which was at the time dispositions and the transaction coordinating. So, what happens if you're the dispo guy in a company is sort of the guy at the end of the conveyor belt. Remember the I Love Lucy commercial or TV show? She's getting the baked goods out, right? And like contracts are just coming at you, and you're doing everything
all the candies
and do all the stuff. And what happens is if acquisitions doesn't have a good handle on where they should be doing their marketing, how they should be, comping those properties, how they should be contracting them, and at what number, what happens is they just start putting a lot of stuff under contract. And when it gets to dispositions, you're like, dude, this is junk. This is junk.
It's a mess, right?
Sell this, So we got very intentional. I started doing a lot of market research and figuring out, hey, like if we're going to do marketing and spend our hard-earned money, let's make sure we're sending every marketing dollar out to an area that will come back with 4 friends, right? Like, let's not just waste money in, upper New Hampshire, right? Beautiful area. Camp there as a Boy Scout, lots in my life, but there's no cash buyers, right? So let's focus on the area where the data tells us there are a lot of cash buyers, because that's just smart, right? At least we have a fighting chance going in. So one of the great things, about Investor Lift is all of that data is collected in there. So it's very easy to figure out which markets you want to target. So I guess to kind of answer that question, that's the reason I got really good at dispositions, and I was really honed in on it because it was the only thing I did in my company, right? So I got really great at figuring out how to do marketing and, how to put myself in the buyer's shoes to make sure that we are presenting a product to a buyer that they're going to want to buy, right? Because at the end of the day, and I just did a coaching call this morning, at the end of the day, all a buyer cares about, how do I make money? That's it. Yeah. Doesn't matter that they're your golfing buddy or any of that nonsense, right? Or, that you've got the most beautiful girl that's, your disposition person and you splash her picture everywhere, right? At the end of the day, if it's not a deal and the buyer can't see clearly how they can make money on this deal, they're just going to move on to the next one. Because as much as I would love to say I'm the only guy that has deals out there, obviously I'm not, right? So
Correct.
that's really important.
Okay. Yeah, speaking of buying properties in areas where there's no cash buyer, someone called me the other day with a property in New York because
Yeah.
I'm the New York guy, and this property was an hour away from any major city, and even that city wasn't even that major. And I'm like, dude, so the wholesaler called me. I'm like, you cannot wholesale in areas where there's nobody living because there are no cash buyers.
Right.
I'm just giving you a piece of advice. So that happens all the time, and I'm sure it happened when you were.
Yeah, Tennessee, people be like, oh, I got a deal in Tennessee. I'm like, well, first of all, it's a big place. It's 6 hours from one end to the other. It's a big, it's like going from Jacksonville to Miami. Like Tennessee means a lot. And a lot of it's mountains and super rural. And I'll be like, dude, there's nobody there. Who? And this is, I get it, right? You're a new wholesaler. You're just so freaking happy that anybody picks up the phone, right? That somebody will have a conversation with you. And then they're like, I will sign a contract. Like I remember when I was new, I remember how great that is. And then you call some old timer, 50-year-old fucking guy from Instagram. He's like, dude, your contract's a piece of shit. And you're like, God, in this business, they said it was going to be easy.
By the way, it's 100%. That's what happens. Without a doubt, I get calls all the time from people. I'm like, I'm going to give you some free advice for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Don't buy a house in the middle of nowhere. Don't look for houses that are listed for sale. Like I try to help people out, but you're exactly right. Finally, you get a contract and you're all excited.
Yeah. And I'll be at events and stuff and someone will come up and like, yeah, I messaged you on Facebook. I'm like, oh God, please tell me I wasn't a dick. because I'm busy with you, man. I'm busy. So I'm really straightforward. I'm really quick with people because I do want to answer you, but I don't have time to play ring around the rosy all day. But, I use this example. We had this property come over to us in Anderson, Alabama, which I think at the time had like 269 people that lived there. And it's 50 miles from Huntsville. So, and I was just handling, at the time I had partners, so I was just on the disposition side. And I'm looking at this deal. I'm like, dude, who am I going to sell this to? The other 268 people who live in this town? It's a town with one main road. And all 268 of these people have driven by this house, which has been vacant for 10 years. Everybody knows. And they all know that the owner. Like, I do have the best dispo team in the country, but man, like, how do I overcome that? So there is a point where I'm a really stickler for like, do good marketing, have a good plan, have a repeatable plan that you can crank out these deals over and over and over again. But man, there gets to a point where you're just wasting your time. And if that's your business model and you're just trying to scoop up everything you can, here's what's going to happen. You're going to wear your team out, all right? Because acquisitions is very excited when they get a deal, right? We celebrate it, right? We had a gong, people are hitting the gong, they're ringing the bell. Like people are excited, right? You want to cheer them on and have that culture. But then it goes to your dispo team and they're like, God, another one of these deals.
Nope.
Right?
No bueno.
No, and the best salespeople will feel like they're pulling a bag of bricks up the hill and they'll just quit. Like you're just not going to be able to keep them because they're not hitting the revenue goals that you promised them. You're not hitting your revenue goals, which is even worse because that Amex will only take so many charges before they want the money, right? So that's a recipe for really running your business into the ground and that's why some of these kids are kids, people, wholesalers are, they're burning through people in their business so quickly because they set these unrealistic expectations and then, they don't have good enough guidelines or a buy box or an understanding of, hey, if I put this under contract, I have to sell it. I need to sell it. Are there buyers, right? Are there people who want to buy this thing that I have? And that's a big struggle. And that's why we created that course to sort of help wholesalers kind of figure all of that out.
I mean, is there a number that you work with? Assuming you don't have access to investor lift to find the heat maps and where it is.
Yeah.
Is there a minimum population that you look for?
So for us, we know Chattanooga works like that. I know, like with all of my core, I'll put all of my money on, I know that I can wholesale here in Chattanooga, right? There's 220,000 people. So for us, that's a baseline. Whenever I'm looking at a new market, what I'll do is first population. I don't want to be any place lower than here. I also don't want to be in Atlanta, right? I don't want to be in the top 20 metro markets because I'm there and everybody else is there, right? So that I'm just trying to, I'm a fat kid from Boston, man. I'm trying to give myself the biggest fighting chance that I can get, right? So I don't want to be in a place that I'm, just going to take baseball bats to the head, right? I want to be in a place where I can go in and really dominate and, my team can really shine. So no place smaller than Chattanooga. And what I'll do is, let's say Peoria, Illinois. I have no idea what the population is there, right? But I would pull that data. Okay, population is here. Okay, you got a few, 20,000 more people than Chattanooga. Great. Well, now what I'll do is in real time, I'll just pull Peoria's cash buyers for the last 6 months, right? And I'm going to go back to Chattanooga, and I'm going to pull the last.
Where are you pulling from? From investor?
I'll pull from PropStream, Flipster, where PropStream mostly, right? Because I don't have to download it. I can just pull up and see the number. I just want to see that there are enough cash transactions, right? I get some people using hard money and all that, but like we just need a baseline. I just need to be able to make sure I'm comparing apples and apples. And if it's close or even above, great. Now let's kind of dig in a little bit more and see what's going on in the market. But that's the very first peripheral.
Do you know what number you want to see from PropStream for cash buyers?
I just want to see more than Chattanooga. That's what I want to see. So like the last 6 months, I haven't done one in a while. I'll be honest with you. I think like in 6 months, it might be like 1,000 cash transactions, right? Okay. In 6 months, that's good, right? In a smaller market. So then we're going to look at other things. We're out of all the northern markets, right? Just not for any political thing, just there's less demand in Ohio than there is in Florida, right? So again, I want to work in spots that are going to be easy for me. We don't work in, me personally, we made a decision a while back. I don't work in non-disclosure states, which for people who are listening, in most states, 39 of the states in the country, you can go online and you can get all of the details on a transaction, right? Who bought it, how much they paid for it, when they did it, you can get all those details. There are 11 non-disclosure states, which means you can see who bought it, but you can't see what the price was. And I think you were about to ask me a minute ago about comping. The reason that's important is as wholesalers, what do? We sell to cash buyers. I don't give a shit what the ARV is. I don't care. Like that, we got rid of that 10 years ago, this nonsense of 70% of repairs or of ARV minus repairs, doesn't matter. We sell to cash buyers, man. I want to be in a place where I can go and look up what did properties like mine within a mile or 2 miles or 3 miles sell for cash. That's the answer to the test, right? That's it. That's the only thing that matters. If I know that cash properties are selling between 120 and 150, all I got to do is lock it up at 100, right? All things being equal, and I can street view and go, okay, this house is like my house. Sometimes it's on Zillow or something, and I can look at some pictures and go, yeah, this looks like my house. Like, here are 30 people who bought houses between 120 and 150. If I can lock it up at 95 to 105, I'm in the money. Right? Like, let's take as much of the guesswork out of this business as we can.
Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense. All right, so let's talk about the company that you sponsoring Investor Fuel out of those hat you're wearing, which is Easy REI Closings. Yeah. Explain what you do and why why it's something that a lot of people need, but they may not know they need it.
Yeah. So, you've been like me around for a lot of years. Businesses come from a bunch of different ideas, right? It's all these little kind of grains and kernels that happen to you over time. Because I really focused on dispositions and, transactions, the one thing I got really good at was solving title issues. So, we're one of the first users on Investor Lift and are a cartel boss. So I would have a lot of cartel bosses calling me, hey man, I got this really weird situation. What do you think? Hey, what can I do over here? How can I close this deal? Or, people would, and I'm doing dispositions training. So transactions naturally comes up. And then COVID hit. And we were having people that were laying their own staff off. They were calling us, hey man, can your girl help me get this thing closed? Because I'm on a kind of a skeleton crew and I really need help. And in fact, the office that I'm standing in, the podcast room, this was our old transactions office. And so I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then I started thinking, I'm like, well, I should charge people, right? Like it's cool, but like, how can I do this and, try to at least make a little bit of money from it and help other people. And, then I started, kind of COVID keeps going and we realize we become very quickly on a touchless world, right? You don't need to have a location in every state. And I thought, well, maybe we could roll this out and help a lot of investors, right? So our goal at Easy REI Closings is to help wholesalers and investors across the country get more deals closed and actually make more money. And the way that we do that is I do have an understanding that most people who become investors and wholesalers, right? They leave their 9-to-5 job, they've got the hustle mentality, they're entrepreneurial, and that's a special mindset, right? People that can do that, like our brains are a little messed up, right? And we're on the kind of go plan all the time. Awesome. That's what makes us successful. The things that hold us back, which is why we need integrators, is we're terrible at paperwork, we're terrible at anything that's detail oriented. All of that stuff to us just feels like we're kind of walking through quicksand. So if we can take that off your plate and allow you to spend your time focusing on things that you love, which is talking, right? Talking to sellers, talking to buyers, making the deal, getting that adrenaline rush, that endorphin hit, then what happens is now you're doing more deals, now you're making more money, and you let our team handle all the complicated closings because it's what we do. We're really good. We do a lot. We've done over 2,500 files, $100 million in closings. Our team is dedicated all day long, 9 to 5. They're in office here, just dealing with title companies all over the country, getting your deals closed.
Yeah. So, I mean, I thought about using you, but in New York, I think it's a little weird because of attorneys, but I am doing some.
We crush it in New York. It was tough in the beginning. I'm going to tell you.
But what parts? Near the city?
Yeah.
Or upstate?
Yeah, we close all over. Yeah. I had to put you on the phone with Hannah, one of our
I got to talk to Hannah about it because it might be doing something. Because like for me, I can't even talk to the attorneys. Like I have a situation where the seller's attorney won't even talk to me. They'll only talk to my attorney. So I don't know how they're going to talk to you.
You have the split attorneys. And listen, it's a tough state to work in. You know that. You're there, right?
Yes.
I don't know that most people would choose it, but if you're there, you're there, right? It's the cards you're dealt. But we had one of our first deals there, like the email chain, it was over 200 long because, this emailed that attorney and the paralegal and then the realtor and then but we have one guy now that his name's Andrew. He really specializes in New York and he's like our New York guy. He's got, all the attorneys.
You have to put me in touch with him. I should talk to him.
Yeah, I'll connect you in an email a little bit later with Hannah and them two can jump on and tell you all about the fun that they have in New York. But they've got it dialed in. It took them a little bit, but New York's one of those unique states, right?
Definitely. But what I was saying is that I may want to start using. I also operate in El Paso, Texas, and I'm thinking about using you for that because I have some deals there that are dragging along.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like especially for investors like us that are, because it's so easy to be virtual now, right? The data, there's so much data out there, and it's so easy to do pay-per-click or, just drop into any market and text. That what happens is, if I only worked in Chattanooga, I would never have this problem. But now I'm in West Virginia, I'm in, Pennsylvania, I'm in New York, I'm in Florida, I'm in California, I'm in Phoenix, and I get a deal and I'm like, well, like what title company do I use, right? And I don't want to spend a day on the phones just screening title companies all over. I definitely don't want my dispo guy doing it, right? Call us, like be a client of us. We're in all 50 states doing all transaction types. So it's nothing for us. We're already there anyways doing deals.
I agree 100%. I think for a lot of people, first of all, either they're hiring somebody full-time to do it, or they're just having deals die because it's not being done right. And to outsource it to a company like yours seems like makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and we're far cheaper than you hiring your own person. And if you're going to hire, and that's okay. Like, I get it. You know, some people want to change their own oil too, right? I don't. I tell people I get stuck like Winnie the Pooh if I crawled underneath my car. You just see my legs kicking. But, you know, you got to do ads. And you got to, you know, you're setting up interviews and 50% of those people aren't going to show up. And then you got to make them an offer. And, oh, you waited too long and they took another job. And you finally hire somebody. And now you have to train them. And first off,
Right.
most people don't know anything about title work to start with. So I don't know how you're going to train them. And then you gotta manage them every day still. For us, like, you can hire us today and put our 12 coordinators on your files tomorrow, and you know, we will spin the wheel of your company quicker. And our whole goal is, right, for you, our client, I want to compress time. I want to get you paid quicker. I want to get this file through closing as fast as possible. And for two reasons. One, I want you to get paid. But two, I've got 40 more files coming in tomorrow. This is like the old milk at Walmart. Like, I got to get your file closed because I got more coming. Otherwise, you know, we are I Love Lucy with the loaves of bread and cakes, you know, loading us up. So we're very efficient in making sure that we get these deals closed as quick as possible.
Do you only work on wholesale deals, or do you work on deals where people are buying them to, let's say, to flip them to?
Everything. That we were very intentional when we started the company, Michael. We knew that we wanted to be able to serve clients in all 50 states, right? Because there are some regional transaction people. Like, there's a girl in Texas, there's, I think, one that works Southern Florida. And I didn't want to say, oh, geez, man, I only do New York, but not Michigan, right? Or something like that. So we came out of the gate knowing that we were going to be the biggest TC company. We were going to help clients in all 50 states, and we've closed in all 50. I'm going to tell you, there are a couple that are challenging. Alaska is incredibly challenging to do. Hawaii, we had a client that lived in Hawaii, and we figured that out. And now we're cranking out Hawaii closings like there's no tomorrow. But we wanted to make sure we could do all 50 states and all transaction types. So some of our first clients, first coaches that were sending us their students, were novations. So we do a lot of novations. I would say our office handles more novations than any single title company in the country. Like, it's 46 or 47% of our business. So no, we'll handle everything: sub two, creative, wholesale, land, you know, whatever it is, we can get it done for you.
Very good. It's good stuff. Yeah, I know people who use you that are happy with you. I'm still on the fence of whether it's going to work in New York, but I'm going to talk to your Andrew guy, and I'm thinking about signing up.
I'm
thinking about signing up
as soon as we're done.
for the Texas stuff.
Yeah.
All right, good. All right. So, but are your company still operating in Chattanooga and wholesaling in Chattanooga?
Yeah. Now, we don't wholesale as much as we were. Like, we've really leaned it back because so much of our time is spent in the transaction company. We grew 34% last month, which is a big jump in business. So we're probably heading towards, you know, winding down our wholesale company, just because we want all of our focus to be taking care of our clients on the for easy REI closings. So that's honestly the direction that we're heading in.
All right. And are you now, because you have access to deals, as you said, in all 50 states, are you seeing anything in any region or state that is interesting, better, worse, that you see anywhere in the country?
Yeah, rules and regulations are changing all the time. Just last week, they came out with one of the major underwriters came out with a ruling in Tennessee that just really clarifies novations and makes sure you're going through a couple of steps that some people were skipping. So yeah, there's 3,500 counties, and we're working in all of the big ones for sure. So we have a very bird's eye view of the whole country, and can say, you know, hey, you know, this area is kind of an area that's on fire. This is an area that's maybe not so great. So for our clients, like, when you come on, if you say, hey, I really want to dive into novations, like, what are the best states? Like, we can give you that data. Like, we have that data. I can tell you, you know, the states that have the highest assignment fees, you know, whatever it is. Like, we can break that out however you want. I can't give anybody's personal data, right? Like, I can't say XYZ company did, right? Because that's not my information to give. But I can tell you that we're right at $100 million in closings. We've done over 2,500 files. Our average assignment fee over the last year and a half is $30,000, which a poll of the three biggest CRMs, FreedomSoft, REI Black Book, and REI Simply, had the traditional wholesalers at $18,263. So the question is, like, why are your people so much higher? Well, because they're not spending 30% of their time doing nonsense paperwork, they're out there getting more deals, working those deals and getting the
Getting
best.
better deals. Yeah.
Right. They're spending more time on their marketing. So, I mean, the ability to free up that space out of your brain to go focus on the stuff that actually, turns the needle, moves the needle and grows your business. We see it client after client after client where they're going, oh my God, I was doing 2, 3, 4 deals a month. Now I'm doing 6, 7, 8. This is the greatest thing ever. I'm growing my company.
Yeah, that is amazing. If you think about the amount of time you put
Mhm.
on transaction coordination, which for people that don't know is really the time between you get something under contract and when it closes.
Yeah.
That's everything that happens in between is what TC or transaction coordination is. So you also do you see areas where things move quicker than others and things move
Sure.
slower than others?
Sure. Like,
Right.
if you just want to talk regular wholesale deals, like Tennessee's pretty fast. Western PA, they've got some goofiness there where you've got to get some extra disclosures. Birmingham, we talked about Birmingham earlier. They've got this weird thing where you've got to wait for a release, water lien release from the county or something. So that adds like an extra 5 or 10 days. So because we know all of those things, right, Michael, what we're doing is the minute you upload this contract to us, like our team is on the phone with the seller, collecting all of the information, and we're starting to get all of that stuff right away, right? So the reason we're closing or shaving 10 days off of our closings is because we're instantly to work, right? If you get a deal or, me, when I was wholesaling on my own, I'm getting my deal and then I'm like, oh my God, I got to change my hat. Let me go to Dispo and let me go find my buyer. And then when I get my buyer, I'm like, okay, what do you need? Well, 10, 15 days has passed, right? We're
Right.
starting all of that day one. The minute you hand that baton off to us, the minute you upload that contract, like we're behind the curtain in the Wizard of Oz, like little elves going to work for you. And that's how we're helping our clients do more deals and actually at the end of the year make significantly more money. Because we're just allowing you to do the thing that you got into this business to do, which is get contracts and talk to sellers and buyers.
And keep moving everything through the
Keep
pipeline.
moving, man. We want to keep that conveyor belt moving.
Without giving names, what are some of the more efficient companies turning wholesale deals, and how many days between contract and closing are you seeing the more efficient companies, and how are some of the slower people doing? How long does it usually take?
I can tell you our company average right now is 31 days from start to finish, which is pretty good.
Very good.
I'll give you a number. We've got a company out of what do they call Upper Midwest, or like they're in Seattle or Washington and Oregon.
Pacific Northwest.
Pacific Northwest. God, I couldn't spit that out. And when they came to us, they were doing anywhere from 90 to 95 a month, and they were able to get up to over 800,000 a month. And they regularly now are hitting 6 to 8. Like their biggest month was 811,000. So
nice.
That's what happens when you could take your company and really focus your efforts, right? Like you don't have to be managing just all of the nonsense, right? For me, like I'll get a deposit into my wholesale account and I'll be like, what's that $23,000? Because it was 3 weeks ago, right? But I haven't thought about it for 3 weeks. Like since the disposition person rang the bell and said, we're under contract, I'm like, great, ship it over to EZ, right? Because we're their first client. Like it's designed for me.
Right.
I'm kind of a dick, right? So I want to make sure it worked good. Like you forget because somebody else is like working full
Somebody else is
time.
doing all the crappy stuff that no one wants to do it.
Nobody wants to do that shit.
I don't know one business owner who says I want to spend more time in transaction coordination. I've never heard that before.
You know who says that? People that don't want to go out and talk to people who won't grow their business.
Right.
They're the same people like, I need to work on my CRM. If you hear somebody say that, that's, they got to get out there and go talk to people, right? This is a talk to people business.
100%. Absolutely. All right. So let's talk about this Dispo REI course that you are offering for free to people who are going to mention my name.
Because we're in fuel and we're buddies. So I'll do this for any of your listeners. If when you go to Easy REI Closings, there's a little blue box there that says book a call and call our team. If you sign up, if you become a client of ours, I'll give you this course. You got to make sure you mention the podcast or Michael's name. Otherwise, they won't know to give it to you. And what that course is, back when I was coaching really heavy a couple of years ago, I did a one-on-one. It was expensive. It was $4,000 to do. And I think we went through 6 or 8 weeks of coaching and consulting for wholesalers to help them build that buyer's first mentality in their company, right? So we start with the end in mind in everything that we do. So what we talk about really quickly is like, what's the timeline of a deal? What happens at the end, right? We got to get paid. Awesome. Well, who really pays us? It's the buyer. So let's talk about what different types of buyers there are, right? There's basically rehabbers, landlords, and land development. Those are your three big categories. Cool. Okay, so let's look at that market and see who's buying what. And then we take that information, now we take that and put it into the top of our sales funnel, right? Because if I expect a certain type of deal to come out the bottom, well, that's what I got to put in the top, right? I can't put pineapples in the top and expect peaches to come out the bottom, right? That's what happens when you start marketing in the wrong areas. So we get very specific about how to figure that out. And then, we go through that whole process of how to build out your marketing, how to build out good, emails and websites and, all of the different things that will, make you a lot of money by fine tuning your process, right? The difference between like an Olympic gold medalist and someone who doesn't place is tenths of a second. Right. But it's learning those processes, those simple but scalable processes that your team can just come in and pick up and do repetitively over and over and over again. The greatest, football players, Jerry Rice, what did he do? He did the basics, man. He ran those steps up and down in the stadium every week. Michael Jordan, free throw, right? You got to get good at the basics and that will solve 80% of your problems. And that's really what we've lined out. And all of the training that we do is we want to really identify the things that move the needle, right? Is making a TikTok video and posting it going to get your property sold? Probably not. But learning how to post it in the right groups on Facebook, how to craft a good email with a good opening, title, subject line to get your email open. Those are the things that are going to work.
All right.
Yeah.
David, thank you very much. Any last words? Any final things to talk about?
That's it, man. Thank you so much for having me on. I do appreciate it. It was good to see you in between masterminds. And
yes, a pleasure. And we'll see each other in about 10 days. So
yeah, we'll have a whiskey and share a cigar and do some fun stuff in Nashville.
Looking forward. Thank you very much, David. I really appreciate it.
You bet.